Hello, I'm Dr. Tara Palmatier of shrinkformen.com. If you have a question or would like to schedule a session with me, you can reach me at shrinkformen@gmail.com or shrinkformen@protonmail.com. Both of these addresses are in the About section of this video. The topic of today's video is the custody exchange ambush. Something that I am sure many of you who follow me are already all too familiar with. So let's just dive in. If a high conflict ex can't provoke you over text or email anymore, guess where they'll try to engage you next? That's right, the custody exchange. If you're dealing with a narcissistic, borderline, or histrionic ex, whatever the flavor of crazy, custody handoffs can become an opportunity for yet another one of their power struggles. And with these types, anything and everything can turn into a power struggle, including what brand of toothpaste you're buying for your kids. True client story. If you've set firm boundaries, such as using a co-parenting app like Our Family Wizard, limiting communication to parenting issues only, and refusing to engage in the BPD ex's personal attacks, they'll typically escalate in person whenever they're given the opportunity in an effort to regain emotional control over you. And look, this has nothing to do with cooperative co-parenting and everything to do with, you got it, their control issues and trying to keep you stuck in their emotional chaos, petty dramas, and endless grievances. So, what is a custody exchange ambush? Well, it's what happens when a high conflict ex turns a scheduled custody handoff into some kind of reality TV performance art, complete with boundary violations like forcing unwanted conversations about custody issues, such as demands for schedule changes and other matters better suited for the parenting app. Because remember, if it's undocumented with these types, it never happened. They also do this to create more conflict. Yelling, making false accusations, and causing a scene while you stare at her like a deer caught in the headlights. It's also effective for putting the kids in the middle, to manipulate and guilt trip you into giving her what she wants, even if it's just to have an argument where you end up looking like the bad guy again. And of course, for public humiliation or intimidation. Because sometimes making a spectacle is the point, or embarrassing you into just agreeing to what she wants so she will stop and shut up and let you be on your way. And again, this is an opportunity for these types to portray you as the asshole and for them to once again play the victim for a situation that they create. Custody exchange ambushes escalate usually when a toxic ex has lost control over other forms of communication with you, meaning they can't get that access that they used to have. And also, once you stop responding to them with big emotional reactions, once you've stopped jading, that is justifying, arguing, defending, and explaining yourself, and ignore all non-essential communication, and that is messages that don't pertain to legitimate parenting issues. For clarity, your daughter flunking out of math class is a legitimate parenting issue. Wanting to complain because the state garnishing child wages check isn't arriving to her home exactly when she wants it and calling you a deadbeat is not a legitimate parenting issue. So, when these types can't provoke you electronically or even in person anymore, they will keep trying to have conflict live and in person. And the custody exchange is the perfect place for an ambush where they will try to force you to communicate with them. Now I'd like to share a real-world client example of a custody exchange ambush in action, or what I like to call ambush at the Cray Cray Corral, which, for those of you who are not classic film knowledgeable, Gunfight at the OK Corral is a classic Western film. Check it out. Okay. So, a recently divorced client handled a classic custody exchange ambush with his BPD and PDX like a champ. What triggered the ambush? Glad you asked. I will tell you. He's begun to keep all communication in the parenting app. He didn't fall for her "we need to talk" trap. That is, his ex demanded a phone discussion but refused to say what it was about. And he's finally mastered the ability of staying calm and emotionally disengaged whenever he does have to interact with her, and saves his venting for therapy sessions with me instead of feeding her drama addiction. Now, not all therapy is venting, of course it isn't, but these types are sometimes just so toxic, you gotta let it out somewhere. And naturally, this enrages her. Losing control. Gasp, gasp, must regain control. All right, first, a few words about the "we need to talk" trap. With toxic exes, like the client whose story I'm sharing, the "we need to talk" trap has nothing to do with co-parenting. It's about making verbal attacks and false allegations. It's about trying to exert control tactics and other boundary violations, or making other boundary violations, and getting a drama-fueled conflict fix to upset you, ideally in front of the kids and any passersby. And just so you know, if your ex demands to talk to you but won't say what about, you have a right to say no. And not just to say no, but to ask, what is it you want to talk about? And if she can't or won't tell you in writing, then don't agree to meet in person or have a phone call. If it's a legitimate issue, what's the problem with putting it in writing and saying what it's about? Usually the "we need to talk" and refusal to tell you what about in advance just means they want to catch you off guard and blast you. Okay? So back to my client. At the next custody exchange, my client's ex followed him to his truck and got in his face, complete with poking his chest with her finger, which is technically assault. She yelled and demanded he talk to her. That is, listen to her belligerently name call and shout demands and accusations. And finally, she screamed loudly in front of their kid, "That's right, run away from me, you bleeping pussy," when he refused to react to her provocations. My client didn't engage. He calmly got their kid into his vehicle and told his ex to put her concerns in the Talking Parents app. Why did his BPD ex do this? Because this was never about co-parenting or their child's well-being. It was about her need for control, for dominance, and to feed the BPD beast by creating emotional turmoil. What should you do if this happens to you? Keep calm and document on. Look, it can be difficult to keep your cool when a toxic ex is having a public meltdown at a custody exchange. Many of my clients, when this happens to them, feel a mixture of embarrassment, anger, and fear. Fear because what if someone in the McDonald's parking lot calls the cops because they wrongly assume the big man is scaring the little lady? And they also feel a lot of trauma-related symptoms from the former relationship and the divorce itself. If you find yourself in this kind of situation, try your best to stay calm and don't engage. High conflict exes thrive on emotional reactions. The calmer you are, the more frustrated they become. So don't take the bait. 2, keep all communication in a co-parenting app. I can't stress that enough. Keep all communication in a co-parenting app. No verbal responses, no texting wars. If they have something to say, they can put it in writing. If they keep pushing you, tell them. You'll respond in the app and walk away, get in the car, and leave. You don't owe them communication in person if they're going to use it as an opportunity to attack you and pick fights in front of the kids. Also, just as it just occurs to me, if you cannot avoid having a real-time conversation with this kind of ex, as soon as you have a minute to go into the parenting app, document what happened, something along the lines of, we agreed to this custody exchange date or custody modification or whatever about the kid, but document it afterwards and then ask that they confirm that, okay? Because otherwise it didn't happen, and this is where a lot of them will try to play games. 3, document everything. If they create a public scene, record it and take note of dates, times, and witnesses in case you need it to protect yourself from false abuse allegations with the police and in family court later on. And 4, consider moving custody exchanges to a police station. Nowadays, many departments offer safe exchange zones with cameras and law enforcement nearby. A common pushback to my clients wanting to do custody exchanges at the police station is that it will be traumatizing for the children to go to the police station. Well, when your kid is under 3, they don't know what that is. It's not a big deal. What's far more traumatizing for kids is to have one of their parents or both of their parents yelling and screaming in front of them, making the exchange as painful and dramatic as possible, or even worse, the borderline or narcissistic parent calling the cops on their dad and having them show up. You can avoid all of that by just doing the exchanges at the police station. Also, refusing to engage with a toxic ex is not running away. It's choosing not to participate in a borderline, histrionic, or narcissistic ex's dysfunction. And that is always the sane and smart choice. And lastly, don't forget to ABR. Always be recording. When you have to have in-person contact with an ex who has these types of issues, just get a body cam, clip it onto your belt, clip it onto your jacket. They're not as obtrusive as they used to be. Saves you from having to monkey with your phone. Sometimes they won't even notice them. It's better to have this documentation and not need it than to need it and not have it. Okay? Now, when to involve the court. If a high conflict ex repeatedly weaponizes custody exchanges, you may need to take legal action, such as filing a motion for supervised exchanges in a neutral location, again, like a police station or a family services center. And also, it may be time to modify that boilerplate, not very effective custody order into a parallel parenting plan that eliminates unnecessary direct communication and reduces opportunities for conflict. Ultimately, your goal should be to remove opportunities for manipulation and protect your child and yourself from being caught in the ex's toxic behavior. So here are some final thoughts on protecting your peace, keeping calm, and documenting on. To recap, dealing with an emotionally Dysregulating high conflict BPD or NPD-X at a custody exchange is not about co-parenting. It is what it's always been about: their control issues, their inability to emotionally regulate themselves, and yes, their personality disorder. They don't want resolution. They want drama, emotional reactions, and an audience. Again, your best strategy is to stay calm, document everything, refuse to engage, and use legal interventions if needed. Your kids need a stable, emotionally healthy parent, not another player in the other parent's relentless, endless drama. So choose peace over provocation. And remember, always be recording, keep calm, and document on. I'm Dr. Tara Palmatier of shrinkformen.com. If you have a question or would like to schedule a session with me, you can reach me at shrinkformen@gmail.com or shrinkformen@protonmail.com. These addresses are in the About section of this video, along with all of the social media links. Thank you again for watching. I hope you have a great day.